always had quite a clear vision of where I wanted to go as to where we are now, but also obviously much further down the track. And I really believe that if you're not evolving and you're not growing, then you are stagnating. So there certainly was an element of risk that needed to go into growing when it came to pitching for new business, expanding in terms of our services, or expanding in terms of staff. So I think there needs to be quite a clear balance between the two, and at the end of the day it comes down to what you need to spend to grow against what you have coming in the pipeline. It was after about 2 years when, as any business goes through a key area of reassessing cash flow and looking at where you're going, that we were tempted to expand into other areas that were non-property development related. And when we made a conscious effort to stick to our niche, that the business really went through a massive growth spurt, and where we really picked up the key clients we'd been looking for such a long time, because they appreciated our very specialized focus. And one of the most consistent points that I came across was the saying that to grow your business and to be focused on the business strategy that you want to roll out, you need to focus on the business as opposed to in the business. When I first heard this, it actually made no sense to me whatsoever, and I didn't see the relevance. But I very quickly realized that one of my key strategies as a business entrepreneur, or the leader of my business, was that I had to focus on extracting myself from the day-to-day elements, which is not very easy initially when you don't have many staff or you don't have too much resource to throw around, but to try and extract myself in terms of focusing continuously at the key elements, which in my case would be bringing in business and dealing with clients, and strategically looking at the rollout and expansion of the business, as opposed to getting bogged down in the day-to-day stuff, which in many cases one can bring people on board to do. And it's quite a fine art being able to extract oneself, but without doing that, it's impossible to look at the business with a peripheral type of vision. And one of the key elements for me was the employment of staff and the strategic outlook at the importance thereof, in terms of having people who were able to take on a lot of the day-to-day stuff and focus more in the business to allow me to perform my role focusing on the business. And to me, although it's a very simple philosophy, it really has been quite integral in terms of how I've approached the rollout of Rainmaker Marketing as an entity. I've made plenty of mistakes along the way, and I think every new entrepreneur, every new business owner does. One of the key mistakes that I made initially, and sometimes one still inclined to make them, is overcommitting, and especially being in a service-related business where clients are like gold, and where you want to get clients on board, and obviously where you want to keep clients happy, that you tend to overcommit in terms of timelines, delivery dates, and resources, and it ultimately will backfire. But I think probably the biggest mistake for me as a business owner was initially in the line of appointment of staff. I think when you are a one-man band to start off with, and you then start employing people, you are so relieved to have those people on board, and you are so relieved to have taken that plunge to employ people, and you're invigorated by it all. But you sometimes jump in very quickly, in the sense that you, in many instances, are quite desperate at the time, or I was, because I reached a point where I all of a sudden realized that I need a lot of resources on board. And I probably didn't follow the right procedure when it came to employment of staff, thinking that it was quite low risk, and that I could judge people based on one interview. And that is something where I have changed and relooked at structures considerably in terms of making sure that when employing staff, even as a small business, whether it be 3, 4, 5, even 10 staff, that you follow the same processes that any multinational corporation would follow in terms of interviews, in terms of background checks, and realizing that even if you employ someone for 3 months, there's a massive opportunity cost to that in terms of, number one, the time and energy you put into that person, but also the damage they could do. So for me, there were often times where we took a step back after having employed someone just because I rushed that process. And the key is that we all make mistakes and all business owners make mistakes. But it's just to make sure that you don't continue to make those mistakes. One of the first things that I tried to do was to set pretty long-term goals. It started off 6 months, I guess one does, through to a year, and then since then I've looked at very specific 5-year goals, 10-year goals and 20-year goals. The 5-year goal, and that is something that I try and communicate to the team as often as I can, and it's something we do have up in the office, and that is within our field to be the best and the biggest within Africa. And that is something we are all aware of, and hopefully the team are bought into, but something that always helps us guide our decision-making process, and often you have to choose whether you take on certain business or whether you make key decisions. And if you're always looking back at that 5-year goal for us, it really helps clarify certain key decisions as we move forward. Our 10-year goal, my 10-year goal, is very specifically to diversify the business in other areas that are closely related but pretty much unrelated to what we're doing at the moment, and especially within the property development space that we are in. And the goal for me as an entrepreneur would be to be actively involved in setting up those initiatives and those different businesses within the larger business, but to have really, really key people within each business looking after the day-to-day implementation, the day-to-day management, and I guess playing more of a sort of a mentorship or consultation role.